Hello, everyone. 2020 has been such a challenging year for all of us. One of the area of concern is the impact of the pandemic on mental and emotional well-being issues. Prevention of poor mental health is not only possible but urgently needed. In the UK, 1 in 6 adults and 1 in 8 5 to 19-year-old meets the criteria for a common mental health problem every week. Mental health problems have become one of the most biggest contributor to ill health. Now let's see what my children have got to say on psychological first aid. Over to you, Thea.
Thank you, Lily. My name is Thea Joseph, and I'm going to do this presentation with my brother.
Hi everyone, my name is Bennett Joseph.
Hi everyone. I'm really looking forward to this presentation.
We took a course and learned about psychological first aid for children and young people. What we learned. But before we say that, we all need to understand what psychological first aid is. Psychological first aid is a technique to reduce stress, anxiety, and different emotions and struggles that people can have. But this course is specifically designed to help children and young people.
Psychological first aid. Yes, it is something anyone can do, and it's not just for adults, kids can do it too. It is a method of how to help people who are managing distress or someone who has lost a family member or a relative and other similar things. Providing non-intrusive practical care and support, assessing and helping to address people's basic needs, example, food and water, listening but not pressuring people to talk, and helping them to feel calm, helping people connect with their own skills and supporting people, connect to information services and social support to protect them from further harm. Different from mental health first aid because it has been developed specially for use in disasters and emergencies.
So now you know that what psychological first aid is, let us tell you what we learned about it. The first thing you need to know is the stages to be able to help people aged 0 to 25 cope in difficult situations. Stages. Prepare. Prepare to deliver PFA. Make sure you know the background and feel ready to act. Look. Look for signs of distress and assess the situation. Listen. Listen to build understanding and empathy. Link. Link to further support community activities and groups, physical activities, voluntary and statutory agencies, and online resources. But now let me tell you how to help someone safely. Here is an example. Here is the story of Jamal, age. Here is the story of Joshua, age 11. You are a volunteer working for a food bank. During the widespread of COVID-19, educational providers, including the primary school your child attends, are closed, and students are learning remotely. One day, outside the food bank, you see a boy from your child's class, age 11, sitting alone at the bus stop. He looks upset, as he might have been crying. Now, let me tell you how you should respond in this situation. The first thing to do is to approach Joshua and introduce yourself, depending on whether he recognizes you as a parent from school. Check if Joshua is alone or if he has an adult with him whom you have not seen. Crouch next to him within social distancing restrictions or using appropriate protections, and explain why you're there. Speak softly and calmly, maintaining appropriate eye contact. Establish expectations that you have noticed something's wrong and that you want to talk to Joshua about it if he needs some help, and what steps you are willing to take to help him. Even though you can see he's cold and hungry, you should not leave Jamal to get food and blanket in case he leaves. and you can't locate him. Secondly, don't tell him not to worry and things are okay, because this might make him feel misunderstood and not heard. Lastly, take into account social distancing methods. Do not touch Joshua or sit too close to reduce the chance of transmission of the infection. If you have identified that Joshua is alone or something upsetting or potentially traumatic has happened at home, the best thing to do is to call your volunteer manager to come and support you. If possible, ask them to bring the blanket and something to eat so that Joshua's basic needs are met. From here, your volunteer manager should take over in terms of safeguarding steps and support you to follow your next steps. According, according to the food bank's policy, if you can if you cannot make contact with your manager, call the police or the local child safeguarding team. This might be a hard thing to do, but this is the correct way to respond. Now Bennett is going to tell you how to manage distress.
Managing distress. Sometimes a child or a young person will be distressed, and what they need the most is to be calm. So you need to make them calm. Experts recommend the following techniques, but do seek further support if you are concerned for a child's welfare. If you should also watch to see how the child or young person responds and stop the technique if they are struggling, not understanding or finding it unhelpful. Five, four, three, two, one technique. Acknowledge 5 things you see around you. It could be a pen, a spot on the ceiling, anything in your surroundings. Acknowledge 4 things you can touch around you. It could be your hair or the ground under your feet. Acknowledge 3 things you hear, for example, birds singing, a clock ticking, or the sound of a car in the distance. Acknowledge 2 things you can smell, for example, the smell of a drink, soup in your bathroom, or smells of nature outside. Acknowledge 1 thing you can taste. What does inside of your mouth taste like? Can you taste food you ate earlier or something you are eating now?
Yes. So this calming technique talks about all 5 senses: seeing, touching, hearing, smelling, and tasting. Next slide, please, Sia.
Breathing and relaxation exercises. Inform the person you are helping and that the mind clears when focusing on the here and now. If they're not actively in a state of panic, suggest they begin gently by noticing their breath going in and out, feeling it in the nose or mouth on the way in and sensing it how it fills the lungs and expands the belly, sides of the chest and lower back.
Breathing exercises should be used carefully if the person has respiratory problems. If in doubt, avoid. If someone is actively in a state of panic, encourage them to try to slow their breathing, and noticing things around them can be more useful.
Quiz.
Yes, that sounds interesting.
Okay, let me challenge the adults and see how many could answer this. You are a volunteer working for a food bank during a widespread outbreak of COVID-19. Education providers, including the primary school your child attends, are closed and students are learning remotely. One day outside the food bank, you see a boy from your child's class, age 11, sitting alone at the bus stop. He looks upset and as though he might have been crying. On approaching the boy and starting to talk to him, you're able to establish the following. He is really upset and doesn't want to talk to you initially.
Something has happened at home that has made him want to leave. He had a sore throat and cough, which are common symptoms of COVID-19. He is hungry.
How would you respond to this?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So I think it's everything starts with first approaching the child and
Yeah.
see whether he recognizes you as a parent or one of the member from the food bank.
Yes.
Um, Check if Joshua is alone or he's with any adult.
Correct. You both are correct. Then you should crouch next to him within social distancing restrictions or use appropriate protections and explain why you are there. Speak softly and calmly, maintaining appropriate eye contact. Establish expectations that you have noticed something's wrong and that you want to talk to Joshua about if he needs some help, and what steps you are willing to take to help him. Even though you can see he is cold and hungry, you should not leave Joshua to get food and blanket in case he leaves and you can't locate him. Secondly, don't tell him not to worry and things are okay because this might make him feel misunderstood and not heard.
Lastly, take into account social distancing measures and do not touch Joshua or sit too close to reduce the chance of transmission of the infection. If you have identified that Joshua is alone and something upsetting or potentially traumatic has happened at home, the next best thing to do is to call your volunteer manager to come and support you.
If possible, ask them to bring the blanket and something to eat so that Joshua's basic needs are met. From here, your volunteer manager should take over in terms of safeguarding steps and support you to follow next steps according to the food bank's policy. If you cannot make contact with your manager, call the police or your local child safeguarding team. Thank you for watching our presentation.
That was very informative. Thank you for this presentation, kids.
Please like this video and subscribe to our channel, Visions to Missions.
I hope this session was very informative to you. I think at least it would be a good start to know about psychological first aid and also to learn more and contribute. Thank you, everyone.